What are the consequences of US military invasion in Nigeria? What's the current state of other nations invaded by the US military? Why is US President Donald Trump interested in the affairs of Nigeria? Well, we seek to find out in the next few minutes. Hello guys, and thank you very much indeed for joining us on this latest edition of The Context. I'm Ibrahim Ismail. On today's episode, our focus is to examine the consequences of possible US invasion in Nigeria. Amidst tensions, a lot of people have argued that the consequences would actually outweigh the gains in case President Donald Trump decided to take military actions against Nigeria, with many also examining and analyzing the consequences of US military interventions, either directly or indirectly, on other nations in the past. President Donald Trump tweeted and threatened to send military to Nigeria over what he alleged as Christian genocide in the African nation. Based on information available, US military interventions, direct or indirect, has impacted negatively on some other nations. It is true, and a lot of people are arguing that if President Donald Trump invade Nigeria, the result will be severe. The consequences will be immeasurable. And let's go through some of the details here. According to available data, some of these nations that suffered due to direct or indirect US military interventions include Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Somalia, Libya, Yemen, Syria, Sudan, Gaza. These are some of the countries. Let's break it down. What has been the issue? And this is coming from an unbiased compilation of available resources across the globe. Afghanistan. The US invaded Afghanistan in 2001 to defeat Al-Qaeda and the Taliban after the 9/11 attacks. The war lasted nearly 2 decades, resulting in significant human and financial cost. But today, who rules in Afghanistan? The answer is Taliban. Taliban are still the leaders. They are leading Afghanistan right now after the withdrawal of US troops from that country. Well, many analysts have argued that the US mission in Afghanistan has failed. Yes, you had that right. A lot of people think that the mission in Afghanistan has failed because right now Taliban is in charge. Iraq, the US-led military invasion of Iraq aimed to overthrow the government of Saddam Hussein succeeded. He was accused of supporting terrorism and developing weapons of mass destruction. The invasion led to widespread Southern violence and instability, and until this moment, Iraq is not spared. And then now, Iran. The US has been involved in various covert operations and military interventions in Iran, including a CIA-backed coup in 1953 that ousted Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. Recent tensions have led to US military strikes and missiles strikes against Iranian targets due to the nuclear plant allegations and all that, and also the tensions between Iran and Israel. These informations are on the public domain. And then until this day, the US do not feel satisfied with the conduct of Iran one way or the other. The US has conducted military operations in Somalia to target terrorist groups like Al Shabaab. In 1992 to 1994, the US led a UN humanitarian mission during the Somali civil war. But even right now, Somalia is not stable. Yeah. Then Libya. The US participated in the 2011 NATO-led intervention in Libya, which aimed to protect civilians and topple Muammar Gaddafi's regime. The US has also conducted airstrikes against ISIS targets in Libya. But after that intervention, everyone knows that Libya has disintegrated. Now, armed conflict and a lot of violence have engulfed Libya, with different leaders claiming legitimate leadership in Libya following that intervention. And then it is a lot of concern that now other African nations are battling influx of firearms, rifles, guns from Libya being smuggled into other countries like Nigeria and other West African nations, where it is alleged that the weapons that were used in the Libya incidents, the Libya violence that also toppled Gaddafi, are being smuggled to other nations for crime and all that. And that's why a lot of people believe that terrorists have gotten a lot of weapons from Libya. Now, the next country is Yemen. The US has provided military support to Saudi Arabia in its conflict with Houthi rebels in Yemen. The US has also conducted drone strikes against Al-Qaeda targets in Yemen and recently led direct strikes against Houthi targets in response to Red Sea attacks on shipping. It is good that the US has a lot of commitment in addressing the issue of terrorism across the globe. But many people are afraid that the tactics that are being deployed are violent and is also affecting populations that are largely innocent. And that was why many people are afraid. Syria. The US has conducted airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria and has provided support to Kurdish-led forces fighting against ISIS. There are approximately 900 US troops in Syria focused on preventing an ISIS resurgence. But many argue that even right now, the leadership of Syria are like former rebels, according to what is available online. The rebels, one of the reformed leaders, is now the head of state in that country, and many people raise concern. And then the country have suffered a lot of violence. Then Sudan. The United States has had limited military involvement in Sudan, including a 1998 airstrikes on a pharmaceutical plant and more recent diplomatic efforts to address the humanitarian crisis in the country. Well, Gaza. There is no direct US military involvement in Gaza. However, the US has provided significant financial and military aid to Israel, which has been involved in conflict in Gaza. The US role is more focused on diplomatic effort and support rather than direct military intervention. But in all this, it is also alleged, and a lot of people in all this, there is a consistent pattern of US involvement in various countries with the hope of addressing terrorism and violence against minorities and all that. But the end result, according to many analysts, is mass destruction. All the countries that were involved have been scattered right now. People lost their livelihood. They can't sleep the way they used to anymore. They are always in war. And that's why there have been a lot of concern following US President Donald Trump's threat to invade Nigeria. The consequences will be severe on any living species in Nigeria. There is hope that things will be addressed as they are and issues will be tackled. The insecurity in Nigeria will be addressed. What do you think about these issues? Join the conversation below. Thanks for watching The Context.